Hello to our IAMPRO community. Welcome. Today we have with us the wonderful Jake Wood. I know Jake, we work together on Eastenders. He has done so much TV, I can't even list it all. And I can't wait to talk to him today about his method and his process. So with that, I'm going to bring him in.
Morning, Charlie. How are you?
Darling, I'm really good. How are you?
Good. I'm really well. Thanks so much for having me on this platform. It's such an amazing thing you're doing, and just want to say hello to everyone viewing.
Oh, thank you, Jake. It's we're so chuffed to have you. I saw you most recently in 222 West End stage. It came to the press night of that, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was lovely to have you there, Charlie. Yeah, it was amazing. It was the first bit of theatre I've done for like 18 years. Well, I've been, obviously been in Eastenders for 15, but sort of started off in theatre really. I guess we'll get to that, won't we? But it's the first theatre show I've done in 18 years, and it was it's great to be back. It just felt like putting on like an old pair of old slippers.
Did it? Can you talk to me about that? How were your nerves?
My nerves are absolutely fine, honestly. I think the scariest thing I've ever done is Strictly, and honestly, that was like that was really terrifying because it was live. It was so many people watching because I'd never danced before, so that was really weird. That was like totally out of my comfort zone. So in some ways now, whatever I do, and I guess having done EastEnders for 15 years as well, I guess it just comes with. I feel like I'm at that point, Charlie, where I've been doing it for so long. I started acting professionally when I was 10. That I guess it just comes with experience, doesn't it? That sort of certain. I think you always do get nerves, but and I think nerves are a positive thing. But I think after so many years, hopefully there comes a sort of point, doesn't there, where you've got to have a little bit of confidence that you know what you're doing. And,
I'm still waiting for that point to come.
It will come.
I hope so.
I mean, but having said that, Charlie, there are always nerves. People always ask about nerves, don't they? And how to conquer them and how to overcome them. It's a very personal thing, isn't it? Everyone's so different. I sort of tend to go into a zone. I sort of tend to sort of take myself away from everyone else. If there's chatter and a lot of distraction, that's no good for me. So I'll always kind of go away and deal with it on my own and just try and get focused on what I'm doing. And that seems to work for me. But other people are different. Other people like to be around other people and they like the chaos and the social thing. That's not me. I always sort of tend to go away and sort of just focus down and sort of try and gather your thoughts and try and get everything under control. So but
I get really moody. I get really moody.
Everyone's so different, aren't they? Yeah, just everyone's no two people are ever the same, I think, in that situation. And I think that's why it's complicated sometimes as well when you're in a play or doing TV, because that's such a collaboration, isn't it? It's such a team effort. And all of a sudden you're sort of like with those nerves, because it's so personal, you kind of like you have to find a way of dealing with it, but within a team, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. You get to know everyone, don't you, that you're working with so intimately and so closely, because nobody knows how they're going to respond in some of the situations that we put ourselves in. So our true characters are constantly quite exposed, I think.
Yeah. And I think also it also relates to how other people work as well and their process. Yeah, it's just no two people are the same, are they? And I think people bring that energy with them, don't they, to jobs and their characters and what they're like. And again, that's a process for you to learn in terms of how they approach what they're doing. You have to give them space if they need space, or it's just every job is so different. The dynamics are always so different because there's different characters. I guess it's one of the things that makes the job so wonderful, that every job you go to, there's different characters and different you're always having to figure it out to work in a team to it's always a collaboration, isn't it? And it's just pulling all those different characters together and being aware of people's different processes and all that. It's a fascinating job. I really
it is
part of the job I really enjoy, if I'm honest.
Yeah, me too. But actually it can be I do love familiarity in a job, and I do love it when you break through that sort of, like any job, I suppose, getting to know you period, because constantly moving, I mean, different when we're nailed into EastEnders for all of those years. But when we are jobbing and going from job to job and meeting new people constantly, it's quite something, isn't it, to get to know people on that level and to actually feel comfortable with who you are. And for me, I always find it's quite it's just quite an exposing sort of process. I love it because I love working with different people and seeing how they work. But I also get really, I just find it really exposing as well. And I can feel quite shy, and it takes me a little while to kind of get comfortable, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that exposure though, Charlie, is like one of the bravest things about our job, I think, and one of the things I probably most admire about actors and the process is that yeah, they have got that ability to be that open. So I don't see that as a weakness or a vulnerability. I think in that situation, that's a strength, you know, to be that open. So, but yeah, you're right. It can be a very intense process to do a play, to do a TV thing, to do any job, to do a film, to do a series
Mm.
thrown together with these, you know, with other actors in a situation where, yeah, you just have to get to know each other very quickly, I suppose, and how each other works. Always a really intense experience. Every job is like a little journey in it, I suppose. And
Totally.
yeah, you know, it's one of the amazing things about it, and also, and you know, it can be quite painful, you know, when an amazing thing comes to an end, and all of a sudden, you know, those people aren't there anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, there's so many elements to it, and it's
Yeah.
good and bad. But again, it's just one of the beautiful things about our job in it that we go on to these little experiences with people and work so closely with them, it's so intensely, and then you're on to the next thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good. It's all good.
Can I talk to you about the process? I'm going to start before we go back because I know you started out in Anna show and you said you started acting when you were 10. I
Yeah.
just want to dive into 222 because I'm always really keen to just extract like what I really want to know. And what I really want to know is how you do it.
How
Is that
I what? Sorry.
your ring light there?
Yeah, no, I'm getting rid of it. I'm getting rid of it. Oh, I
um,
missed the end of that question, Charlie. Sorry.
That's okay. So how you do it, what is your process from rehearsal to show? Because the character that you played in 222 was so outside of Jake, the Jake that
Mm,
I know. And he's like this brash, big, kind of strong, not that you're not strong, Jake, but you know what I mean. He's
yeah, yeah.
sort of at the forefront. And how do you go about finding that character? Does it just come to you instantly when you read the script? What do you do to find him? Did it come to you in rehearsals? Can you talk me through that a little bit?
So, I mean, yeah, I guess like really, I would. Yeah, I guess I really want it in whatever I do. I try and be as truthful as possible. So
Mm,
for me, that would go to all the details. For me, the details are very important, Charlie. So like, you know, even if it's not in the script, but it's, you know, it's talked to, well, where is this guy from? What is his family like? What was his relationship with his mum like? So I guess it's just a kind of forensic, for me anyway, it's like a forensic sort of exploration into this character, always always basing from what's in the script. So you're never making it up. It's always stuff that you can get. Obviously, the better the writing, and 222 was fab. You know, the writing was so rich and the characters were so rich. There was so much to go on there. So it's just I always just see it as my job, yeah, just to fill in those gaps, if you like, and to sort of like yeah, just to really, I guess, yeah, forensically sort of get into it, and keep it truthful. For example, there was a very just a small line about he was trying to stop smoking, the character, and he said his girlfriend was trying to reprogram him. That was all that was in the script. She's trying, oh, you know, yeah, Lauren hates it. She's trying to reprogram me. So I was like, well, what does that mean? What is that about? So for me, yeah, went and did a little bit of research and talked to the assistant director and said, you know, what can that be? And found out about neuro-linguistic programming and stuff like that. And yeah, just did just a kind of like a little bit of research and found out that sometimes what you might do is have a rubber band on there to, you know, if you ever had any cravings, you would flick yourself, or you'd pinch yourself to remind yourself to not have you know, the cigarette or the sugar or the caffeine or whatever you wanted. Um, so for me, then he always, so then that character had a so part of the costume then was a elastic band around the was a
Mm.
elastic band around around his wrist. So obviously that was something that was going on off stage, but was between them. And then at one point, I think I pinged it. Oh, look, she's trying to reprogram me. So so in some ways that's a very, like, I'm trying to illustrate, in some ways it's a very small thing and something in the script that can just get sort of like passed over. But for me, all of those little things, and
Totally.
and you just keep building on those, become that character, don't they? And always,
Of
and as
course.
I say, always based on what's in the script. So to other people that stuff's not important, but to me that's kind of, to me that's the key. That's like the, it's like that's the truth of where the character is and his reality and what, and the life he's living with his partner and all that. So
But just
yeah.
that one thing opened up a whole element of who this person is, though,
Mm,
how open-minded he might be to the linguistic programming, because not everybody would be. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
it would tell you so much about him and
Mm,
about maybe his feelings for his girlfriend,
yeah.
and it's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that's where, yeah, that's where I think for me, that's where all sort of like the layers come in. So yeah, to know, to anyone else that would be, maybe unimportant, but I think as a viewer, hopefully then all those little pieces, then you as the viewer, you make that character, don't you? You sort of, you develop that character. I guess I've trained with a guy called Scott Williams who does a lot of Meisner. He's basically a Meisner practitioner, which is a method of working that sort of like keeps you in the moment and is always very truthful. It's really worth looking into, actually, Meisner. It's a really, really interesting technique, and one that I sort of use a lot of the time. But he would say, and Meisner, I guess, would say that there's no such thing as character. That there's no, that when you approach a job as an actor, or there's sort of, you think of a character. We can't just play a character, can you? But he would always say that what the audience do is they put a character together based on what they're seeing and what, and those little things. So you might see that with that character, that plastic, the rubber band, and then you make an assumption about that, and then you as the viewer, you make that character, don't you? It's sort of based on the script and all the realities of what he's doing within that script. So that's what
Mm.
character is. So actually, character is yeah, you're never fully in control of it, because it's always outside of yourself, isn't it? It's always the audience putting a character or making a character out of what someone does and the way they react and the way that they are and what they're wearing. Or there are so many different elements to character, aren't there? And how you do it. So I think that's right. I think a lot of character lives in the audience's mind, as it were. And so my job, yeah. So I guess your job, or what I would see my job as an actor, is to fill in those little gaps and to give the audience a lot to go on in order to
Mhm.
um yeah, to be able to decide who that character is or what he's like.
Yeah, I suppose because as an audience member, you go, "Oh my god, he really reminds me of so and so," who's like this particular character in their
Mm,
mind. Do you see the characters that you play as extended, exaggerated versions of yourself somehow?
mm.
I think we
Not
all as actors have to take a little bit of who we are and put it into whatever that character is.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts
Um
on that?
no, I don't think so. I think where the crossover is for me is the emotions are real. So if I'm upset as a character, then for me it's important to be in a place where I'm sort of, upset. Those emotions are hopefully real, but I think that's where the similarity ends, because obviously that you're adding that emotion on top of a character who's acting in a different way than you might in a situation that's completely totally removed. So I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's really an extension of you, but I would say that hopefully, if you're doing it right, the emotions that you're displaying are a part of you or come from
Mm,
somewhere that is genuine to you. Your emotions are genuine, but
mm.
you're applying them to, you're using it for your work in order to convey the emotions of that character, that moment, which, that's not you, but the emotions, hopefully, for me, it's important if they at least feel a little bit genuine.
So do you find that sometimes you have to actually act against your instincts? Because I'll go instinctively but that is how Charlie would respond. That's not how whoever I'm playing at that point would. And so I do sometimes I do follow my instincts, and I've
Mm,
people say, "Oh, you're quite an instinctive actress," but sometimes I have to make an effort to actually go, I would respond like that, but this particular character wouldn't respond like that in that moment. And that can be quite complicated, actually, can't it? Because the desire is to go at it with your natural emotion,
Yeah.
when actually I'm going against all of my instincts because I don't believe that she would respond like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There always is that conflict, but I think the thing with for me, it's always like you're within the confines of a script, or you're working within the confines of that scene or that whatever you're doing. So I think the emotions are real, and I think the instincts to bring up those emotions can be genuine. But obviously, then it's. I think for me, it's a little bit like a a boat on the sea. So you've got the sea is the emotions, they're going up and down, and the boat is the kind of like is this script, and it's keeping everything together, and it's just sort of riding on. The boat should be riding upon this crazy emotion, but you're still kind of keeping the discipline. Yeah, it's a little bit like patting your head and rubbing your belly in it, because you're getting yourself into a state or whatever, or emotional state, or whatever you're doing, but yeah, you still have to remain disciplined to keep within within what you're doing. Yeah, it's tough. It's just something. Yeah, it's just part of the job, isn't it? It's just it's
So
difficult.
the emotional recall that you're talking about, do you find those scenes easy? Do you find those emotions quite accessible? You can get to them easily? Or, sometimes obviously if we're within a play and we've got a lovely build up and we've got a rich scene where we can sort of put ourselves in that place, it might feel like our job is a little bit easier than, for example, in EastEnders, where everything happens very, very quickly and you have to be able to access emotion very quickly. Do you struggle with that? Did you use it with Scott Williams? Did you study sort of the emotional recall and how to put yourself there?
Yeah, I think it's important for any actor to study all of that. I mean, that's a whole thing on its own, isn't it? And how do you access those emotions, but at the same time keep in control of them enough to be able to do what you're doing, because you're still doing a job, and how easily are they recalled? I don't think no one's a machine, are they? So you can't just switch them on and off. So again, that just goes down to everyone's process is so different, and everyone's way of prepping for a scene is different. Everyone's way of getting into an emotional state is different, and I think you as an actor, you've got your process, and hopefully everyone else respects that, and you see someone else going off and banging their head against the wall, or slapping themselves on the face, or jumping up and down, or doing
You slap her.
no, I don't think, no, I'm not, I don't, no, don't think so, no. But I don't know, I think it's whatever works. Jump up and down, do 50 press ups, just I
Yes,
don't,
I pace in little circles.
it depends what the scene is and what's being called for, isn't it? If if
Yeah.
you're angry, I think it's a different energy. If you're yeah, and again, it's just I think it just comes with discipline for me. Is like that you get yourself into an emotional state, but then as soon as the scene begins, then you're connected to what the other person is doing. So it's not you're not there. You're not just pulling up emotion. You're getting yourself in a state where you're allowing yourself the possibility that those can resurface again, where they're sort of sitting quite near to the surface. The scene is continuing with the person that you're doing, but there's the possibility then, isn't there, that those can surface. Now, I don't know. For me, I'm not. For me, again, I'm quite instinctive as well. So those emotions might not rise on the same line, or then they might rise later on, or they might not rise at all. But they'll be there. Something will be there. Something will be going on, and
Yeah.
then it's a little bit like sort of hoping that lightning will strike. It's because it's such a delicate thing to be dealing with, in it, to be dragging up emotions like that. It's and again, I think I really do think that comes down to technique. I think for years and years and years, I didn't really have a technique. I started acting when I was like 10. I went to Anna Shear's, and all based on improvisation. I started working professionally. I was doing all right. I was doing good, but I guess in terms of any formal training, I hadn't really done any sort of anything formal. So anything I was doing that was emotional or requiring sort of like emotions to come up, I didn't really know what I was doing or how best to go about it or how to draw them up. So when I got to sort of like my mid to late 20s, I kind of really lost my way a little bit with it. I just really didn't really know what I was doing or how I was doing it. I didn't have a technique, if you like, Charlie, to something that would give me the best opportunity for those emotions to rise. I didn't have a technique is the only way I can describe it. So I went back, studied with Scott Williams, and did sort of emotional recall stuff, and then that really, I think, from that moment onwards, sort of like early 30s, probably gave me then a really good grounding then to go forward to at least think, right, okay, I've got a technique, I've got something that I can use, like like a method, to get yourself to that point. And that to me felt safer and more structured than just I've got to get these emotions somewhere. And there's always anxiety with that, because you've got a scene to play where it's emotional, but you're never sure it's going to hit you. It was always 50-50 whether it was going to hit or not, and that's quite it can bring you anxiety, that, can't it, when you don't know if the emotions are gonna be there. So I think technique above everything else is so important. So all of that stuff, emotional recall, whatever works for you, and everyone's so different. There's so many different methods out there. Go out and look at everything. Take a little bit of everything, whatever works for you.
I'm so happy to be having this conversation, just because I've been looking at the Lee Strasberg in New York, and he does a lot of the method stuff. And I've been having a fantasy about going over there for 3 months and doing some work within that drama school. I will definitely have a look at Scott Williams as well, because for me, I just think it doesn't matter how much work you've done, there's always something to learn. And I sometimes feel like I'm flaying, and it's like, oh, is this gonna land or not? And there's something lovely and organic about that. But there's also definitely an insecurity that comes with that sometimes. And that's how part of the reason why this platform has come about. It's I did a year at drama school when I was 17, and then was straight into Eastenders. I was super young. So I think it's really, really, it's a really brave decision at mid-20s, early, whenever it was, that you go back and you do train, and people are still willing to do the work. The Americans do it weekly. They do classes. It's like a continuous journey of learning. There's no sort of ending.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it is that type of job. You have to continuously learn. Like, I'll still do classes now. I would, I'm still happy to go and do classes. And in fact, I've got a friend of mine who was in New York a few years ago, and he went to a drama class. I think it was like a method drama class, and there was this black girl in the class, and he sort of half recognized her. He's like, I don't really know that, she was just taking part in the class, and that was that. And about 5-6 days later, he was at home watching the Oscars, and this girl got up to get the Best Actress award. It's Halle Berry.
Wow.
But it's like literally 6 days before the Oscars, and then he told me the story, and I was like, that sort of epitomizes for me don't want to make generalizations, but like you mentioned, the Americans, like, their work ethic is like ridiculous. Like, and I think we should be the same. I think you never stop learning. I think there's always room for improvement. So
Always.
I agree.
So you started Anna Shear, and you did your first job at 10. We'll just have a bit of a dive into how you actually got into this industry and what your dreams were as a young human being. Can you talk to me about that?
I went to a place called Anna Shear's, which was like just a open access, so anyone could go there. It was like 50p a class or something, probably even less in those days. And it was all based on improvisation. I was there probably 3-4 months, and then I got a job on a TV drama called The Gentle Touch, with a wonderful actress called Jill Gascoigne. It was one episode. It was like a police drama. I was 10 years old, and I just had the most amazing time. It was just being thrown into that environment of you know, a creative environment, with people that were treating me as an equal, as, you know, as a fellow professional. Yeah, I was honestly, I was just gripped from that first experience, and then that was it. I sort of made the decision really that I wanted to be an actor, which is yeah, you know, there's no guarantee that you know I'd still be doing the same job 40 years later, but you know, thankfully, you know, I've remained doing so, and it's yeah, honestly, from the first moment that I sort of encountered it, and the people, you know,
Mm.
for me, I think it was a lot to do with the people as well, and the sort of environment, and I just loved everything about it. It was just so exciting.
Anna Scher had some wonderful people attend her. I mean, she's famous in her own right, isn't she?
Hmm.
Some amazing people go through her school.
Mm.
Was there an agency as well, or did producers, directors, casting directors, were they just aware of the talent that she had coming through her doors?
Yeah, there was an agency as well.
It
So
was.
yeah, and then again, yeah, weekly we would get casting directors, just coming in looking for kids for shows and stuff like that. So um, yeah, just very lucky. You know, I literally grew up around the corner in Islington, so really lucky that was there. Yeah, I don't know what I'd be doing now if it wasn't for Anna.
Yeah, I mean, she's changed many people's lives, I believe.
Hmm.
So you finished your GCSEs at school,
Yeah.
A levels,
I started A levels, and then I was working so much,
right?
doing TV stuff, and I'd already decided by then that's what I wanted to do. Um, and so I left after a year. I was doing the job that I wanted to do, so I didn't really see the point of sort of staying on. And also, they weren't accommodating me working, and I didn't want to not work at that point. So yeah, so
Was drama school, one of the big ones, on your list of things to do, but you just got busy, you didn't need it? Was there part of you that thought, I should really go and do my 3 years at Bristol or Lamb or whatever it is, or did that not even come into your head? Were you just like, no, I'm in and I'm going for it?
yeah, I guess it was just a different route, wasn't it, Charlie? Like I was there, I was working, I was doing it. I didn't see any point of going to drama school because you know, I would,
Doing
I
it.
think I would have seen that as 3 years not doing the job that I was already doing. So it was, um, yes, it really didn't enter my mind. You know, I was doing the job, I was getting regular work. You know, I was doing lots of, you know, one-off episodes of stuff, couple of movies, you know,
We talked
radio.
about those. You just flippantly say one-off episodes of stuff. And one and movies. I mean, one of my favourites was Only Fools and Horses, which you
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
in. If nobody's seen that, it's old. You've got to watch it. It's one of the best TV things shows ever made. And The Illusionist, Edward Norton. Can you talk to me about that experience?
Yeah, that was incredible. What a like, yeah, just
Massive film, massive.
yeah, it's great. It's a great film. Great film. Yeah, just lovely to be a part of it, like with actors like Edward Norton, Paul Giamatti. Yeah, a lot of my stuff was just with those guys, and yeah, there was literally what I think of about 3 days when it was just Paul Giamatti, Ed Norton, and me doing this scene, and yeah, you know, and yeah, I had a little word in myself. I went, you got to be an idiot if you're not just soaking this up and just learning everything you can off these guys. So yeah, I was literally like a sponge, just like this is you know, a great experience. Yeah, that was the last job before EastEnders actually. So
Mm,
um, yeah, but you know, I've always seen my career as just yeah, it's so eclectic. There's loads of different stuff on there, and
that's
uh,
what's brilliant about it, though.
yeah.
What was the biggest takeaway from working with those two? If you can remember, sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, just their professionalism and the way they approached it. Like, you know, I mentioned earlier, like the forensic sort of dissection of a character and a
Mm,
story. I guess for me, like Ed Norton is just such a just an incredible actor, isn't he? And just what a privilege to watch his process and watch the way he was figuring it out, and it just his approach. Yeah, I mean, everyone's so different, aren't they? That's you know, and again, I think you know, it's always that thing, isn't it? What works for one person will not necessarily work for someone else. So I wouldn't necessarily work like that, but you know, there are
right.
elements of how he worked and his work ethic and the way he
Mm.
approached it. I would definitely try and emulate.
Do you think
Yeah.
he had it all? Sorry, because I'm slightly obsessed with Edward Norton too. Do
Yeah.
you think he had it all figured out before he got on that set, or do you think there was a lot of figuring it out as he went?
There's quite a lot of figuring it out as he went. But I guess with like big budget films like that, you've got the luxury of time. You know, it's I guess when you're a big star like that, then you can stop everything, can't you? And you can have a discussion for 2 or 3 hours, and that would happen quite regularly. They would stop,
Right.
they would discuss 2, 3, you know,
Yeah.
and it is a
Mm,
real um, creative process, like a beautiful
mm,
process like that. Often
mm.
on you know, there's no time, is there, to have those discussions and as
No,
we know, working on soap, you know, you don't even get rehearsal. You know, you just do a line run and then you're off. So,
mm.
and
Skill to
that's
have.
huh?
Good skill to have. If we can do that on soap, can pretty
Yeah,
much do it.
yeah, good skills to have. But actually, what I realised going back to theatre and going back to 222 was that whole rehearsal period, like the 5 6 weeks we rehearsal, is such a big part of the job, isn't it? And I actually forgotten how much a bigger part of the job it is, and how much I'd missed that, you know, that sort of that having that time to figure stuff out and to work as a real collaboration, and
It's lovely.
um, and it's such an important part of the process, isn't it? So I
Mhm.
guess, yeah, going back to Ed Norton, what he had was a lot of time to, if he wanted to stop and discuss it, then that's absolutely fine.
Mm.
It was remarkable working with him. He's sort of quite you wouldn't look if he was in a room and at a party, you wouldn't really notice him. He's one of
Right.
those sort of guys, he's very sort of like he just sort of disappears really. It's weird.
Mm.
And then and then we were on set one day. I was watching him work, and he was doing his acting bit, and you can't really see, you can't. It's very small what he does, Ed. It's like you can't really see what he's doing. And then I
Right.
went back to look at the monitor, and gee, like it was like it was all there. Like he's just a master of that craft, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of movie, like that movie, them doing the movies like that is just so it's so different, because it's so when you're in a room with someone like that and they're doing it, it's so small, you can't really see what they're doing. And then when you see it blown up, and they're, 30 feet or whatever it is, you see everything, don't you? You see every little, and
Yeah.
it's such a different, unique skill that, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, it's just like those guys are just like, it was, yeah, as I say, it was just a pleasure to watch. Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm.
Would you do, and knowing what you know now, we're getting to near the end of our time, would you do anything differently in your career? Would you change
Mm.
anything?
Honestly, Charlie, no, I don't think I would. I really don't think I would.
Mm.
No, I've enjoyed every aspect of it. I've enjoyed every aspect of it. Some decisions you make for financial reasons, it's
Yeah.
a career is such a especially in a creative industry like ours. I think it's very hard to make any plans in it going forward. You can have a wish list, can't you? Oh, I'd like to do film. I'd like to be in a West End theatre. Or you can have a wish list of things, I just if any of those come true, then you know then I think it's an amazing thing. Like to have that. I always used to think that a career was a trajectory, that you would do one thing, and then you would build on that, and then you would go to slightly bigger parts, and then you would do this and that. And actually, what I've realized probably in the only probably last couple of years, Charlie, is that a career is like sort of it's peaks and troughs. It goes up and down, and it's sort of like, you're there, and then you've got that, and you love doing that, and that was great, and then you did that, and that wasn't so good. And so what I've learned to do is just really enjoy the peak, the peaks, the
Yeah.
good bits, because because it doesn't go like it's a steps, and it steps forward.
No,
And
no.
I always used to think it was, and I always used to think it was a bad thing that it didn't go like that. But actually, I think that's one of the wonderful things about it, that it's that it is up and down. It's like,
Yeah. It,
unless you're Tom Cruise, and then your career does go like that. But those people are like one in a billion.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
No, I think you're right. It does. And I think what I'm trying to learn to do is not, only be okay when I'm working and only be happy. There are
mm,
people that are only happy when they're working. And then when they're not working, life is
mm,
shit and it's all down in the. So
mm,
for my human to sort of stay like this,
Yeah.
so that we can ride the ups and the downs. All right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think that's really important from a mental health side of you if you are going into this industry, because it throws you about, in, out, up, down, all over the place.
Yeah,
Really
I think, like,
scary.
sorry, yeah, sorry to interrupt. I think it's, yeah, that's really important, Charlie. I think for me, it's really important to have balance, like to have really good balance, to have a really good, nice, solid life away from it, and then I think anything else is like a privilege in it to do our job. It really is, you know, when it goes well, and it's because it's a creative thing, isn't it? And it's you know, you're being able to express yourself and your emotions, and it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And you're working closely with other people. It's a real privilege to do it, you know. And I'm at that point where I just feel like so lucky to be able to do it, and it is a privilege. I'll never take it for granted. So,
Yeah.
but away from that, I think it's because there are these peaks and troughs. You do amazing jobs, you meet amazing people, you might travel the world, then, you know, next thing you know, you sort of sit back in your council flat, aren't you? You're sort of like
Yeah.
waiting for the phone to ring. Yeah, so for me, it's always really important to keep a really good balance about it and keep it in perspective. You know, it's sort of
Yeah.
it's just a privilege to do it when you're doing it, and when you're doing it and it's going well, enjoy every moment, because you know it's not going to be like that forever, and you know there's going to be ups and downs. But um, I think,
Mm.
yeah, I think if there's one thing through it all is sort of, yeah, just keep learning, keep trying to improve. You know, those are the things you can control and take real pride in. You know, like a real sort of learning your craft and honing a craft and having something that, you know, that you can feel proud of and that you know works. You know,
Yeah.
um, and that will keep you going through. I think, because yeah, there are these peaks and troughs, but yeah, keep working, keep learning, and yeah, keep hoping that you pick up work, because when it goes well, it's a great job.
My final question was going to be, what advice do you have for anyone breaking into this industry? But I think you might have just answered it. Is there anything
Mm.
you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that's about it, innit? Yeah, just keep yeah, looking for sort of like-minded people in it, and different, you know, different acting
Mm.
groups and all that. There's so much out there, Charlie, isn't there? Like,
So
um,
much offer. Edward Norton, look at his films, look at filmmakers you like, look at directors you like, you
yeah,
know, start really getting a taste for different styles, different genres, write it down, keep a book of films, of plays, of
mm,
playwrights, of story ideas. You know, I mean, I say this out loud because I have to remind myself to do it, because I have times where I'm really productive and, you know, and get all the stuff done, and times where I'm not, you know, but that's all part of being human, I suppose. And we have to show ourselves compassion through it all.
yeah. But no, I think if you, yeah, I think just keep trying to improve. You know, I'm constantly trying to improve. I think there's always room for improvement. I think the day you sort of think you've learned it all, and that's it. I think you know, I think there's, you know, you start to stagnate really. So
Yeah.
I'm always looking to push what, you know, what techniques I think I've got already, or to improve them. So I think, yeah, I think if you're starting out, or where, you know, you're looking at it, then just dive in there, look at everything, and then just take bits from, you know, whatever works for you. And everyone's so different. You know, what works for one person is not going to necessarily work for you. So yeah, nick from the best, and just sort of like, you know, and I think
Mm.
it's, you need to keep doing it. It's just experience, and it, you know, it's
Well, we would love to have you come on and share some of your techniques on a masterclass for IAMPRO. So I'll be in touch about that, Jake.
fantastic. Look forward to it.
Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's been amazing talking to you.
Thanks, Charlie. It's been a real privilege.
Thank you. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.